Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are
Hi.
gathered here to talk about Happy Ever After playlist. I'm Miss Abby Jimenez. Let's go around and introduce yourselves and maybe give us your rating and some thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll start the little roundabout the circle. Hi, everybody. I'm Dana. You can find me on YouTube at Dana Ella and on Instagram at Dana Ella Reads. I am in between a 4 and a 4.5. Like, it started off for me like 5-star energy. And honestly, for a good portion of it, it really felt like, here she goes, another 5, because everything other than the one last month, I've given 5 stars to everything I've ever read from her. So I just assume, I think at this point, anytime I pick one up, I'm like, this is going to be a 5, So it kind of, lost a little razzle dazzle for me, as it went, but still very high. 4.5. I think after we talk more, I'll be able to figure out exactly where I land. But I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'll go next. Hey everyone, it's Tara, and I'm on 𝓇ℯ𝒶𝒹𝒾𝓃𝑔 on Instagram and YouTube. And I think I'm going with either, like Dana, a 4.5 or a 4. It definitely didn't hit 5-star vibes for me. It just didn't have like something. There was something that like I know is a 5-star, and it just didn't have that. And maybe we'll figure it out as we go along. But it was definitely very, very good, and I enjoyed reading it.
Kaylani, do you want to go? Next?
Oh, it's my turn. I'm so sorry. I thought B was going next. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Hi. Sorry. I'm Kaylani. You can find me on Kaylani Simply Me here on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch. I originally on Goodreads rated this 5 stars, and I rated it like in the moment. Like in the moment, I was like, wow, 5 stars. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I can't give it 5 stars. And I'm sad about it because I did love the book, but I think there was that like chunk towards the end that was so slow that kind of took away from my enjoyment of the story as a whole. So I think I'm going to settle on a 4.5.
Still great.
Yeah.
Still great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm B of Mama Needs to Read Romance, and you can find me on YouTube or Instagram. And I made a TikTok, and I didn't do anything with it. Don't look for me there because I don't know what to do. I'm gonna break with everyone else here and say 4.5 and be really original. I initially, like Kaylani, I was like, oh, 5 stars the very first time I read it. But it's funny, this is like the 4th time I've read this book, and I definitely skimmed like if you're breaking it into fourths, I probably skimmed like the 3rd, 4th, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I adored Josh for most of the book, and then he did some things that really irritated me. So, and that's what took it down back to 4.5 as opposed to 5. Because sometimes those 3rd act breakups, they just get you crazy, But especially how this one was done. But yeah, so I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed it yet again. But yeah, and I'm sure I'll read it again. At some point. So, yeah.
That. Hello, everybody. I'm Karina. You can find me here at She Dreams and Words and on Instagram at She Dreams and Words as well. But I think I'm going with the 4-star because, well, the crazy thing is I got 5-star vibes immediately. I was like, I'm in it. From the meet cute, page 2 or whatever it was. I was like, this is so good. And then it definitely lost steam around 75% of the way for me. But she did make me sob in the end. So
yeah,
it could go up to a 4.5. I just unfortunately can't give it the full 5.
Yeah.
But from the last one,
Yeah.
leaps and bounds ahead.
We're all in the same boat, it seems.
Yeah.
This one. Stunning.
Yeah. Liz, I love Liz.
Hello.
4 stars. Perfect.
Stunning.
So, not a bad rating whatsoever.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Oh, okay. We want to
I feel like 4 and like 4.5 is like a solid rating.
Oh yeah.
A solid book,
Absolutely, yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's talk about characters. So I listed some, but if you want to talk about anything or anybody not listed, feel free.
Okay, there's one that I do want to talk about that isn't here, but Ernie. I love Ernie, and like I think he was. I mean, he had like his little like funny moments and stuff, but I really loved like when he was talking to Jason and was just like, like don't mess this up and don't lose her, because when he said like when he lost his first wife, how that's the one that he should have never lost. Like she should have been the only one. There shouldn't have been any others after her. And like when he was like, you'll never get it again.
Yeah.
And I just like, I just loved Ernie in the way that he like checked on Sloane after. Like, I mean, I know that Jason told him to, but I'm just such an Ernie fan. I love it.
Especially compared to like everyone else in the business, like he was a true one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like with Lola, I did not like in the beginning until you learned more about like how she was basically being manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
And like that just made me sad for her.
Yeah.
And like you realize how young she was in the industry, and like you're like, oh, wait a minute. This girl needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
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 I love how Jason was there for her, towards the end, and he became compassionate. Even when I know in the beginning, it was really hard for him to be compassionate towards her. And I mean, that was one of the many moments where he really shined for me. Like he did these little things, like the cleaning up of her hair after she got sick, and fixing her sink and getting her coffee. And in the very beginning, where we find out that he gave up his seat for a person in the armed services and was sitting in coach, I just, for the minute one, I was like, oh, I love this guy so much.
Yeah.
I also loved Sloane's like journey from, the last book's events, and kind of just seeing her heal and like get her zest for life back. I just really enjoyed her as a character.
That was such a journey to be able to see.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really interesting especially when you read interconnected standalones, is sometimes the characters that you read in the first book don't feel like the same characters that you read in the sequels. And I do like the fact that like Kristen and Josh still stayed true to the friends that they were.
Yeah.
That's their names, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know that beat when you say something out loud and you're like, wait a second. But no, I just like I just like that they were still true, they were still funny, they were still making the same jokes, like they felt very true to the characters. And I just loved how much of a support system they were through the entirety of the story. And I obviously love the main characters, but I truly think that like especially with stories like these, side characters kind of make or break. And the fact that they were still so good even after all of that, like it just felt like an even more special story for me.
Yeah. I really love Josh. Like I still from, he had like some really good moments. Kristen, I just, I think because book one, it's a never ending beef for me and Kristen. So I just still don't enjoy her. And I just think it's because I can't get over book one. But maybe that's a testament to like Abby's writing, like you said, like they still felt like they were the same people, because that does happen. Like you said, like sometimes you go into the next book and like they don't always like feel the same. Karina, how'd you feel about Kristen?
Huh?
I said, how'd you feel about Kristen?
You still annoyed me. I'm just not a Kristen fan, unfortunately. So
like
she did stay the same because she annoyed me in this one as well.
At least it was consistent.
There you go.
But I did enjoy Lola, like her journey as well, like a side journey that she went on. I didn't like her in the beginning, but I enjoyed the journey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is that the same Lola that we talked about in the last book?
It sure is.
Oh, I didn't realize that this was more of her story. I was
Yes.
Her origin story.
Either. I was like, who's Lola in the first book?
And
But we talked about like I don't think you see her, but I think you see her later. She's mentioned later on in more detail, right? In the further books and
Yeah.
the backlist.
Yeah.
But
She's not the last one.
when I read it, I was like, wait, is that the girl that they were all talking about? Because remember when we guys first brought it up, I couldn't remember who it was. I was like, who is that? So then like the name sparked. I'm like, wait, am I right? I don't know.
Yeah. And it's really cool. I'm going to see if I can find it. Hopefully a way to, well, not share it because I just know somehow I'll get in trouble somehow. I don't know. But she sent an email to everybody in her newsletter like early this year because she wrote something a really cool story that has something to do with Lila Simone, but it's never been released in print. And it might be on her website. I'm going to do some digging because the fact that she's only doing it via email, I don't know. There's got to be a way to access it easily. But it's a really good story, and she does pop up again. It's really good. So you'll love it. You'll love it. There's got to be a way to get it other than the newsletter. So
I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
That Liz said it was better than she was expecting, since people always say the series isn't great. I feel like people that are saying this have read her newer books before this one, which I can see, why they say that.
I really enjoyed it. What?
That's just why I waited forever to read it. Kidding.
Sarah, she's the master plan.
I knew it.
Brain. I have to say, I mean, the Happy Ever After playlist I love, and the next one, Life's Too Short, is one of my favorites. I mean, I think it's better than, for example, like Yours Truly, honestly. Yeah. I mean, it's one of my absolute favorites. So I'm really, really excited. But yeah, I think this series is honestly just as good or almost just as good. So anyway.
It's like on par.
Yeah. The third one, she was gaining her momentum as a writer.
Yeah.
True.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Liz liked Kristen and Josh in this one.
Yeah. I liked how supportive they were of her, and like they really got her through basically the motions of life after the death of what was her fiance's name? I can't remember. Yeah. So I liked them.
Yeah. And I love how their son's middle name is Brandon. Oliver Brandon.
Oh yeah.
That was cute.
Yeah.
And I really liked how Josh was like, he was protective of her, but he wasn't like, how sometimes they can kind of like, I don't know, I guess put males maybe like against each other, but like, because Brandon was his best friend, but he wanted to see, her be happy. And so he like made it like, it's okay that you move on. You know what I mean? I was glad that it went that way and not like a weird, like another
like
weird
a macho.
Yeah.
Like a territorial moment or something.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't have liked it if it was
No. I loved too at the end where they make like the little just a little mention of that, like Kristen says that Josh and Jason are like best friends now and have a bromance, and I was like,
yes,
I know. Oh,
I love it so much. Yeah. Oh, so fun.
Hey, look at this. I did have some tough moments accepting this relationship at times because of the glimpses we had of her fiance in the previous book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
That was a lot. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the fact that she hadn't really like let him go yet. She still had like a relic of her fiance as she was falling in love with some other man. Like that was tough to read. That scene where she's like throwing everything away, and that was tough.
Yeah.
Like
I felt like
a beer can in the garage. Like like that's a lot of grief she's going through.
Yeah.
And I felt like Jason handled that perfectly.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did so good. I mean, it was a perfect blend of understanding without trying to fix things. He mentions like for a hint of a moment being jealous of Brandon and realizing it was kind of ridiculous. But I thought he couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah. Even like when she's like went through the spiral of that night of like, you know, moving things out and like trying to clean it up, and that mention where she said like, I was doing this, like in part doing this for Jason, of thinking about like, if I want to pursue something with him, he's going to come over and he's going to see like every little thing in here that is just Brandon. Like you said, even the beer can, like every little thing. Like that's a tough scene.
Yeah.
Tough scene.
I also really loved the moment like when he went into the Brandon's grave. That almost took me out.
Yeah.
Yes. Tears. I might have them now. Just kidding.
I know.
I was like, okay, we're doing it.
I thought that was like beautiful, you know, because he wanted to make sure he's still respecting her past because he is her future. Oh my God. Okay.
That was
wow.
Just
Enjoyed Kristen, especially being there for her friend. I didn't get spoiled with her like I did in the first book.
That's good.
Oh, annoyed.
Just and like, hey, you know, I loved it. Like, she was like so supportive of this new relationship. She's like, I didn't get to see, you know, Sloan for 2 years. That's not the person I knew, and I can finally see you being yourself again.
Yeah.
And I thought that was lovely that they know that was put in the book to show just how much of herself she lost because the death of Brandon.
Yeah.
I think that was like a pretty accurate or like relatable, I guess, trait of like grief and how it like really changes you. And yeah, I thought that was tough to read about, you know, because everyone has their own experience with grief and like healing and stuff.
yeah.
My gosh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. So let's keep going. I found backwards as well, but still has a great Abby. Yes, Abby's writing.
Yeah.
Alita's favorite is Life's Too Short as well.
Right? Oh, it's so
Yes.
good. Yeah.
Just Kristen was more accepting of this relationship than I was at times.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, man.
Hello, Kristen. Welcome.
Kristen.
I'm glad you found us for sure. Okay. So we kind of touched on it with like our favorite moments, but do we want to like add anything? I know we talked about some emotional moments. Is there anything that made your heart like burst with joy? Or but I thought this one had some really funny ones too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I loved when you find out that Tucker's been stealing her underwear this whole time. That was funny. And she was like, what did she say that she put him in? Not prison because she didn't like the crate, but like the laundry room was his version of prison.
She said she put him in prison, but not Guantanamo Bay. One of my like moments in the book was when they were in Ely, and when Sloan and the mom, Patricia, I think is her name, but when they were making breakfast for all the people that were going to come over to the house, and he came up and she was like, and he kissed her right in front of his mom, and she's like, he did it just like it was just normal or whatnot, you know, and how she's like then mentioned how his mom would always look at them and like smile and just see, and it was like just the idea of being able to watch somebody fall in love is so beautiful. And like those were some of my favorite, just like little moments.
Yeah.
Like I know, like we'll talk more, I guess, like, you know, about other like big things, I guess maybe, but those are some of my like favorite like little moments. I think of just like see, and also this is so small. But when they got to Ely and his brother David, I think his name was David, came and he like they're, you know, like talking trash back and forth, and then David just goes right into the car, grabs bags, and they all just like, it was just like just seeing them just fall right into place, and just because how, you know, she talks about how she doesn't have like that family, like from her mom and her dad, and like the, you know, the only child, and just to see like how David was just like cool, grabbing her bags and like taking her step in, like that was, you know, his sister. I just like those little moments with his family, I think were really cute.
Yeah. I like that too, because that same scene, I like how the mom goes, oh, well, his dad used to fluster me like that too. And I was like, that is so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I have to read, if you don't mind. It'll be short. But the scene, it's the quote on page 286. Jason says, it's just how I feel. I'm yours, all of me. I think I always belonged to you, even when you belonged to someone else. Tucker knew it. He took one look at, and he saw the other half of me inside of you, and he brought you home.
Yeah.
That
was good.
It's so good. That and my other favorite is when they're in the rainbow car wash, and she's talking about she does not even kiss on the first date. And, you know, they're staring at each other. There's chemistry like bouncing off the walls, and he puts his ice cream down or whatever. And then he takes it out of her hand and sets it down without breaking eye contact, and then goes in.
I'm going to blush right now.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. And she's like, I'm starting to think the rules don't apply to you. You know?
Love it.
I loved it so much.
Mm-hmm.
So much.
I like how Abby incorporated a moment in the beginning and at the end. I don't know if you guys remember when he mentioned about Coachella, how he would notice her in the crowd of rebellion, and she brought it back, and I just knew.
Yep.
She was gonna do that. But
that's a moment.
Yeah.
That was a moment.
Oh, yes. I loved it. But even like, I'm a sucker for like the caretaker trope, and just like watching him during chapter 13, I notated that because I was like, that was such a hard chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just love that.
There's talk of this becoming a movie, and how fun would the end of the movie be, right? Like, where's there, you know, he's on stage and he jumps down, she runs up to him, puts her legs around him.
Yeah.
Oh,
that scene belongs in a movie, so.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Grand gesture. Love it.
Yes.
You always run.
We always run for grand gesture.
Yes.
Have you guys read Romance Book Club?
Yes.
Not yet. I want to.
Oh, you have to read it.
Again, I just read the first one.
You did?
You have
fun.
A lot to look at as well.
Another scene that popped to my head when we were talking about that was the scene when she is talking to Kristen on the phone for their non-date date or wherever they're at. And she's like, girl, do you even know who this person is? And she has a full-on freak-out moment. She's like, I don't know if I can talk to him again.
Yeah.
Right.
Like brought her down to reality for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But even like the meet cute, like with Tucker.
So cute.
Oh.
I'm like, obviously, you know, a dog person, so like I was hooked right away.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right away.
So good.
Liz said that was funny and kind of cute how he was starstruck by her because of the hunting food blog. Yeah, that was so fun.
That's super cute.
Even just about the blog, I loved when he was like, you know, would you cook with my mom? Because like she would really love it. And she was just like as if you could stop me from doing that with her. And how she was like, you make me want to cook for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just one of my favorite moments. Yeah. Okay.
I love that. She was like, that was drunk Sloan. I don't know her. What is it? She says like she's like a talking floozy or something like that.
She's a gossip. I highlighted that in my Kindle because I cracked up. I said, I've met drunk Dana, and she also don't know her in the light of day.
Wow.
So fun.
I love Liz pointed this out when Sloan said that Kristen's life was a painful reminder of what mine should have been
Mm.
without me.
I'll cry now.
Yeah.
Or I don't know what the exact quote was, but something about how like she had built like a shrine to her husband, but she didn't want to build a shrine of. I can't remember what the exact quote was, but it was something about like.
Yeah.
Did you highlight that? Because that one was a beautiful quote. It was like something about how she didn't want to build a shrine around.
Towards
like,
the end.
Yeah, that was very beautiful.
Yeah.
Let me find it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karina, doing the good Lord's work.
Oh, right here. Right here. He said, oh, wait. So Jason, hold on. Because they were talking about having kids and like, how would that realistically work on the road?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, not until we have some balance. And he tells her, I would have balance if you were here. And her response was, I can't be your balance, Jason. I'm not doing it. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not further reducing the quality of my life just so you can check something off your list. Okay, I don't think that was it.
Oh wait, I think
That's
I did
a
have
I do have it.
but it was in that same conversation, wasn't it, where she was talking about like not build. I don't remember what the exact quote was, and that's on me for not highlighting it. But
Okay.
it was
I think she was talking to Kristen or something because it was about when they kind of broke up. And she's like, I've already built a shrine to Brandon. I'm not going to do that with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it was like when she had said like he broke every promise, like when she saw the pictures on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very powerful though for somebody who is living through that grief, you know, and then to be able to say like to recognize that I've made like, you know, it entombed my own life and then saying like I'm not doing it again. Like that is such a like a boss babe like moment for her.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And another, this is a little more scandalous, but I really do love the scene where is it an island? I don't know if they canoe out to an island, but like they're looking at the stars, the two of them. Up until this point, you know, she hasn't been able to go all the way with him because it's, you know, the belt buckle, like the sound of it was just too much for her. It brought back Brandon. He's been more than a gentleman about that. I love the way he reacted about that. But my concern up to that point was that he was withholding the information from her that he was about to go on an over a year-long tour. And it's sort of along the lines of what Kaylani was just talking about, not building a shrine, but the fact that she had been with someone who was absent. You know, like she'd had a relationship with Brandon who had passed away, and now she's going to have a relationship with Jason who's on tour for over a year. So she's going to be alone again. And I was so thrilled because I remember the very first time I read it, I was like, please tell me he's not about to go all the way with her, where she doesn't even know he's about to leave for over a year. And I was so thankful that he told her, that he was upfront with her. And then the way that he built up to them going for it, I thought was brilliant. How she goes, he knows me so well. He's got to like let me out of my own mind. And it would always have to be my decision.
Yeah.
I thought that was so well written. You know, it was just, they're just so perfect. They're so perfect for each other. And he gets her so well. I just love it.
Men written by women. Sorry.
Yeah, I found it. You say women written by women? What'd you say?
Men written by women.
Oh,
The best
I can find it. It's on page 325. And it says, Jason has broken every single promise he ever made me. That was his choice. And mine was going to be to thrive despite it. You can't control the bad things that happen to you. All you can do is decide how much you're going to let them take you. How much you're going to let them take. I would be fooling myself if I said I still didn't love him. I think I'd always be in love with him, but I refuse to mourn him or give him a shrine.
Yeah. Yeah, so good.
That just shows her growth, like through her grief of like that understanding of like, I built a shrine to him, but I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm not going to lose myself. And I know it was a very different situation, obviously, but I'm not going to lose myself again because I just found her, you know? I like that.
And that's so critical to the plot of this story because as I kind of remember, I didn't just read the author's note again. I should have. Did anybody read the author's note?
Oh, yeah.
They talk about Okay, so you guys remember better than I do, but it was like her friend was going through this, and Abby wrote it sort of for her friend, but also just sort of to process, and so she's got to give that character this, more strength coming out of it than going in, and I just thought that was
absolutely. I'm curious which Paramore song you're talking about, Liz.
The very first one, right?
In the morning.
Yeah, the first one is a Paramore song.
In the morning, yeah, it's the very first chapter 1 song.
That was.
And they've got the whole
Paramore.
playlist listed in the back pages too, which I love. I didn't realize that the first couple of times I read this.
Okay, since we're talking about the playlist, what did you think about the incorporation of the songs at the start of each chapter? Did it add or detract to your reading experience?
I loved it.
I loved it. I thought it was so fun. That's the first time I've ever seen that done in books. And then I've read a bunch of Chloe Leese, and I feel like she always does that. But I've only seen that in this book for Abby Jimenez. I thought that was really a fun touch. Like a movie soundtrack. Just so you get into it and feel it. I just love it.
Yeah. I thought it added, like, I didn't get to carry on through the whole book, but for the beginning, like, I was listening to the song, and then reading the chapter. But time said I had to just continue on reading. But what I did in the beginning, like, listen to the song, read a chapter, I thought it was just so cool. I felt like so much thought and intention went into her picking, like, each of those songs. So shout out to Karina, because Karina was like, listen to the song and then read that chapter. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
It was so great. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved listening to the chapter songs. I just felt like it paired really well with the chapter, that you're about to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved it.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think Liz talking about when he was taking care of her, cleaned the house, and fixed things for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Based on the first chapter, it really brought the emotions, but stopped after that. Although I may go back and listen to the playlist. Okay.
Like, that first, like, in the morning, like, MOUR, and, like, that coupled with, like, what she was doing that day, like, I was just like, I said, Abby, you're not here to play with us, are you? Like, she was coming for the emotions very quick.
Yeah.
Very, very quick. Yeah.
I love that she said, like, Tucker was brought to her by Brandon. And I love that. I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then through Tucker, she found Jason. And I was like, okay. Abby, you're killing me.
What would you add to this question, Tara? How did Tucker change the trajectory of Sloane's life?
I mean, I feel like it almost brought her, like, joy again. Like, Tucker brought her joy again. A purpose, I should say. Because in the beginning, it was like her trying to find the owner and her getting him to the vet and, like, getting her to get up and go on a walk because Tucker had to be walked. I was like, she found purpose again.
Yeah.
Because she was kind of very stagnant for those 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's something, like, when you go through hard times, even just, like, you're dealing with maybe, like, work stress or just, something that's not obviously as heavy as what Sloane was going through. But, sometimes it's like you kind of, like, you forget to drink your water, you forget to eat. And it's like, because you're too busy taking care of everything else for everybody else. And it's like, I think, like, she shut down, obviously, like, for herself. And it's like you said, Tucker, like, brought her back to life because she had somebody else, I think, to focus on and somebody else to take care of. And, like, through that, it obviously got her, like, up and about and, like, doing things that were good for her, that she could start to recognize, like, oh, I've been missing this for some time. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Tara. I think that was really beautiful.
First of all, not a dog jumping through her window while driving. What a crap.
I know. It wouldn't have been a ticket. It would have been
A hospital visit, probably, huh? Yeah. I definitely think Tucker like revived her and, like you guys said, give her a purpose. And she kind of had to take care of something other than herself, which kind of reflected back to her kind of taking care of herself again, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that video that she made for him with all the pictures of her and Tucker, like,
Oh,
God, that was so cute.
Yeah.
I love it.
I loved the messages too that she would leave him.
Yeah.
And I was like, when, I was like, that's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cute.
Okay, so I want to talk about something a little more, I guess, in depth about some of the things that Abby brought to the story. So what do you think, what are your thoughts on Hollywood culture and Abby's use of it serving as the main conflict between Sloan and Jason?
I think it was a very interesting like conflict to add in, because I think a lot of times like we read like a lot of romances, and obviously each romance has some type of conflict, like hooks and we're there, but like this was such an interesting one that like you don't see a lot, because right, like then every single one would be like some like celebrity romance, but like it was such an interesting use, but even in the way that like it really made like the industry seem so scary.
Yeah.
And so icky, which I mean, I'm sure there are many aspects like of it that are, but like the culture, and then like with Lola, and just like chapter 13, like is a very intense chapter for Jason and Sloan. But even like when Jason was talking to Ernie about like what's wrong with her, and like Ernie was just he's very candid and was just like, well, she's been used, and she's been like through the ringer, and people have just used her as like a way for them to get ahead, and like in this industry does that, and then even when you have nothing left to give, like they'll still come for more. And I think just like that culture of like that industry really of just like how we've seen child stars really go like off the deep end. And what was it 16? I thought somebody said it before.
It was 16.
Like 16.
Yeah.
Where Lola like was first in there, and you got to think like now this is like a decade in, and she's still like just a source of like their cash cow, like like they can make money at her expense, and not just like at her like, oh, put in a few extra hours, but at like her mental, her emotional like expensive like everything. But I thought it was a really interesting thing to use as the conflict, but very timely if we know like things going on in pop culture right now. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting to use for their issues, and I think it also showed like how great they were together, that they didn't really have like, it was outside things very much, and not like things in between them.
Yeah.
I even like that it's a little off topic, but like she came back to when she found Lola in his room. She came back. She's like, that's not a choice he would have made. You know what I mean? She like knew. She was mad at first, but then she was like, wait a minute. Now that I think about it, that's not something he's not going to cheat on me. Like,
yeah.
I liked that aspect too. And I feel so bad for Lola. On like, there was nobody there protecting her, and like Jason is the finally one that like kind of does, and reminds her of the person she loved, who obviously something happened to him.
Oh yeah,
that was horrible. Like changed the trajectory of his career, and then like she sees that person in him, and then like attaches herself to him, And I will think like I was also thinking like they like put so much in her head. They kept her like almost like fueled with substances. That's a word for it, substances. And like, so that she would be like
a pawn, like a puppet.
And like the paparazzi would follow her, so she would be like dramatic or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just felt so bad for her.
Mhm.
I hope she gets like a moment, you know. I don't know if Abby will ever give her a moment. Be smiling at me like, maybe.
No. Yeah, I've read a lot of rock star, well, not a lot, but I've read my share of rock star romance, or celebrity romance. I feel like the way that the way Abby took it was definitely deeper, as opposed to the paparazzi are here again. Oh, blah blah. You know, it just seems so deep, and I feel like Lola's purpose was to be sort of the warning sign, if you will. What's the term? Cautionary tale.
Yeah.
Of how bad things could be. And somebody was mentioning what she was saying about Britney Spears. I mean, you notice that Lola mentions having been in love with her backup dancer. You know, and talking about substances too. I mean, if you go back, like way old Hollywood, I mean, Shirley Temple, Judy Garland, I mean, especially Judy Garland, they had her on drugs all day long, just doing their bidding, you know, and, you know, it's still the same today. And I think it's great that Abby really gives these people empathy, because often you just don't know. You just don't know how they feel about all these things. And I think mental health is coming out so much more now. You know, everybody's so open about how much this type of thing hurts them, from Olympians to musicians to actors. And I think it's great that we're having those conversations more. I found it fascinating that Jimenez was name dropping certain people, like, for example, Kanye. And then when she mentions at one point, I think it was Ernie, actually, that was like, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
And I wonder what Lindsay Lohan would think of this, you know? And of course, you know, more she was an actress as opposed to a musician, but very interesting how Abby took this. And I thought it was very real and also relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what books like these do, I think for me at least, is sometimes it's so easy to forget that the people that we see on TV or listen to their music, like, they are people with real life problems. Even if they have money doesn't solve everything, you know?
Yeah.
And like, I think for a lot of people that watch people on TV, you forget that. Like, they become an item and less of a person. And I think books like this really do humanize them. It's like, yeah, they have hard stuff going on in their lives just like we do. They just have different ways of coping. You know?
Yeah.
They have to always be on, like, being in the public eye. You know, we only see like what they decide to show.
Yeah.
And they have real feelings, and it is easy to forget that, like you said.
It's funny that we're talking about this right now, because I've spent half of my day today listening to an audiobook that's coming out on the 8th called The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is an it's really well written. It's an like Nightmare Before Christmas retelling between the Prince of Christmas and Prince of Halloween. And it is fascinating. It's very high fantasy, actually. I had no idea it was going to be. So like every holiday has so much going on, but these two princes who've had to toe the line because there are paparazzi and things like that, just what it does. If anybody's interested, like if what we're talking about right now with Happy Ever After playlist is something that resonates with you, highly recommend The Nightmare Before Christmas coming out in a couple of weeks. But yeah.
I was definitely nervous about this one because I don't enjoy like rock star romances. So I was nervous. I'm glad that it ended up being a good one.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of. I don't read a lot of celebrity. I've read a few. And then Rockstar, I've barely read any just because I've read one and I'm like,
Like, that's enough.
I'm good.
And it's so cool how towards the end, she's like, I'm Nikki. And he goes, I'm Jason. And they're like, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, real people. They were real, you know?
Yeah.
Real. I love that.
I love, since we're talking about Lola and Jason, I love how he helped her get the help that she really needed too. And like, he was a friend when she had nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was really sweet.
Yeah.
Do you think you would be able to handle the strain of life on tour?
No.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I think I would really enjoy that.
Dana's going on tour next week, everybody.
But you know, it's like I'm also like out of all of us here, like I'm the one who in my life right now, it's like, I'm single, I'm not married, I don't have kids, like, I don't have like animals, I don't have like those things that would make you feel like when you try to think like, could you pick up your life and like go? I also watch a lot of YouTube videos about like living life in a van and just going out. So
there you go.
I think I'm right.
The life on the road, I don't think is what would get me. It's the lack of sleep. Like I'm not a nice person when I'm tired. You wouldn't want to be around me when I'm tired. And it did not sound like they were getting sleep. And I was tired of that. I'm not a nice person.
I'm like that in the sun. Like if I'm in I could, maybe because I'm just such a pale person. I don't know. I'm not built for sun. And if I'm fine. I'm always sleep deprived, so I'm fine. But yeah, if there's direct sun on me, nobody wants to be around me. I try to be nice. I just can't. I'm like, I'm hot and there's sun in my face. I can't do it. I can't do it. Well, it's funny, after reading, Friend Zone, when she was so sick on the road, Sloane, I was like, oh, she's pregnant. And I'm like, oh no, she's just sick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, please, not right now.
I was begging.
Baby,
begging. I was like, don't you dare do this, Abby.
Well, they didn't make her throw up, so I was like, okay. It's likely she's just sick.
It's a little bronchitis. Thank God.
We can handle that.
What did Ernie call it? The rock doc? Like the little doctor on the road. There you go.
Can we talk about the rock doc for a moment?
Ooh.
By the way, do we know who the rock doc is?
Who is it?
Shut up.
No, wait. No, who is he? I'm lost.
Really?
We
The
need to see the
Or
rock doc
Part of
come
your
up.
world that I haven't read yet.
It's in one of the books. It will come up.
Wait, main character?
Main character.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
You will be seeing the rock doc again. Yes, I will just tell you that. And I don't think I'm giving anything. I mean, I'm not telling you what it is, but you can figure it out. But it's fun, I think, to know now because it's just fun.
Yeah.
Well, I know part of your world is following doctors, right? So
That's true.
maybe.
Maybe.
I'll be excited when I get there.
We'll find out.
This is just like last time with the blue Kia. Everyone remember the blue Kia. Now remember the rock doc.
Right.
I'm gonna start taking notes.
I was just gonna say, Tara's gonna need a notebook.
I was talking about the cork board with
I
the
know.
line.
Yeah.
Lines connecting.
Yeah.
That'd be fun, actually.
Right? If I had one of those, I would do it. I would do
Yeah.
it. If I had one of those.
That's fun. Liz said Jason was definitely out of his depth with the celebrity drama and work of entertainment, thinking it would eventually work out and having Sloane get affected through the process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah. Well said. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lola wrote him 3 albums worth of songs. Love how it all came back around.
Yes.
That was really
Karma.
Mm-hmm. For life is not for me. And my friend's been on tour and I was talking to her about it and no. Too much interaction with other people all the time. Yeah.
Right.
I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the page for which they mentioned the rock doc. How did you even put 2 and 2 together?
Because it is explained later in another book.
That makes sense. I was reading this. I'm like, how?
Oh, yeah, sorry. You wouldn't know in this book, but they're reading later down the line, and someone will be referring to a rock star with a broken hand who is helped.
Oh.
So we
And I was like, wait a minute. I'll never forget. It's so fun.
Wow.
It's so fun. Yeah, so you'll see. It's so fun.
Oh, I'm excited to notice things in the future that we have now since learned of.
Yeah, it's fun. I love how she links everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Liz said, I did hear the beds are small but comfy. My friend on tour complained the most about lack of sleep.
Mm.
Yes. I would have known about her being pregnant on the road as well, but when there was no throwing up, I figured that wasn't it.
Yeah.
You're smart. Oh, I think I know the doctor in the book.
The reason I hint at it is not because I want to ruin anything, but because it's so quick, you may not catch it unless your antennae are up later.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm telling you. I don't want to ruin it. I think this is better to know. At least that. It's more fun. Trust me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. I guess we can go to this one. What did you learn from the book, or what did it teach you about yourself or others? Any thoughts?
I think, like I said before, my takeaway is just like celebrities are people.
Yeah.
I like that, like little. I've read a handful of rockstar romances, and I feel like every single one has that like little thing, like humanity in there. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I like that it just kind of showed grief and then like her journey out of it and like building that life after grief or after like such a life-changing, like event. Like this thing happened to her and she had zero control over it, and then building a life from that and getting back to kind of who she was. I just liked seeing that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
There was also. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, B.
No. I was just going to piggyback off what Tara said.
Yeah,
just
go for it.
powerful to know, because it hits every one of us at some point. Just to know that there are people out there. And again, this was based on a real person too. People get through it, and it's good to know that that's possible. So
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it was like a story so much of like sympathy and trying to be like, empathetic for like somebody else. And there's just like something that Liz had brought up about, it's like you hear it in like movies and in books where it's like something terrible happens and the world doesn't stop. Like life is still going.
Yeah.
And it's that moment that Liz brought up about like Sloane having that moment of saying like Kristen's living the life like I should have, and like my life stopped, but Kristen hers kept going on. So I think it was just like such like for me like a nice reminder of like when other people are going through things, like just remembering that to check in even more maybe on people, because like I feel like Kristen and Josh did that very well. And I think it was a nice little lesson for a reminder to remember to like, check in on your people when they're going through things, because like it's not a short thing for them. It's a very long process. Like, and it's a forever process really of like rebuilding your life back. So yeah, it was a nice little reminder of like remembering that just because, your life is moving on, like people are still dealing with grief from different things in different ways,
Yeah. I like how too off that is that she showed too that like there are certain days that you'll feel grief, but then it will hit you at the least amount of time that you expect it. So like I was thinking about what B said is when they were about to be intimate for the first time, and she was like, "Whoa!" And that was a grief that like, like, wait a minute, I can't be the last person I was with was Brandon. He was supposed to be my last person.
Yeah,
and like that grief will just hit you, just out and about, and you'll be like, "Oh, whoa!" So I definitely liked that aspect too. That it's not just on a certain day. That grief will hit you, in waves, I guess is how you put it. I like that you showed that.
My bad. I'm so sorry. Like grief and guilt. Like when the belt buckle incident happened, it was like grief, but also guilt of like feeling like she was doing something like wrong,
And I like what you said about like the world doesn't stop turning. It reminds me of that Grey's Anatomy quote, like the carousel never stops spinning. Like you can't get off. The life keeps going, and like that's sad to think about. Like when your whole world stops, the carousel is just spinning.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It's sad.
I like how it mentioned too that she doesn't really talk to Brandon's family anymore. That which is kind of sad, but
It's like realistic.
realistic, yeah, because she's gonna move on eventually,
Mhm.
and that relationship won't be the same, or you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
I like that aspect too. It kind of showed what would happen or what could happen.
Mhm.
And two, thinking about the question, it's so tricky to know how to be there for other people that are experiencing grief because everybody is so different in how you process it. And like, for example, the thing that resonated with me, I still think about this all the time from the first time I read the book. Sloane talking about how the calendar was a minefield for her, that every day would, it seemed like all the time there was a day that was coming and then she'd get through that day. And then there was another day that reminded her. And I think that's part of the reason why, for me, I had a friend recently whose mother had passed. And so I didn't know her mother's birthday or anything like that. But the very first Mother's Day after her mother passed, I brought her flowers, because I just felt like, and I didn't say why. I just was like, I just felt like I wanted to show her that I was thinking about her and there. But it just reminded me, I don't know. I just found that to be a really powerful idea. And I feel like that's probably similar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Was said to please create that visual with all the connections.
Oh,
and the Easter eggs. I learned that grief is complex, and as much as it hurts to hear your future love is better than your past, doesn't mean you didn't live the past love any less than you did at the time you were together.
Heavy.
Yeah. Although this is still a little hard for me to see and read, but life goes on and you can't stay stuck in the past forever. Yeah. I think it goes to show having a good support system will really help you kind of, move on in a sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just, keep your feet moving
Mm-hmm.
when you forget to, so I think it's important to remember, I guess, everyone, like we've all talked about, everyone's journey through grief is different, and it helps having a good support system in place to keep you alive, because Kristen was feeding her consistently the last 2 years. And I thought it was a realistic take on grief and that. Okay, so do you guys
Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, do you have anything else you want to add for this?
I was just gonna say that, I like too that kind of it slowly went through her grief. So she started getting back to herself with Tucker, and then it went to her kind of doing when she was starting to really think that she liked Jason, of going through his clothes, getting rid of the beer can, and then the ultimate thing was selling the house, and you're like, oh
yeah,
that final straw of what was gonna be Brandon and ours, our together, and she sold it, because she's gonna create this new life with him. I thought that was a good progression to see too, her growth, Sloane's growth through getting rid of things that reminded her of Brandon, but keeping some things that were sentimental.
Yeah.
I think another thing I really loved. Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't think anyone was talking.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure. I think another thing I really loved about this book that I find is something of a struggle for me in a lot of romance books is that for a good chunk of the first part of this book, he didn't know what she looked like. He was she was learning to like who she was, not based off how she looked. And yes, she knew, and so that was the first part for her, but I liked that he was falling in love with her wit and her humor and the way that she connected with him on a deeper level. And then it was okay, finally we can see what each other look like in real life. And that's when it was okay, I understand why I liked her a lot. And then the looks just kind of solidified everything else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have a quote that I highlighted during their first, official date that she called an appointment. Her sink had broke and he was there to fix it. And he said, I'm glad you didn't make things weird for our first appointment. Just a run of the mill, no stress. First meeting flood.
That was such a great scene.
A little humor, And I just really loved how patient he was. I think I made a note of
so patient.
It. Like allowing her to grieve and heal, like amongst Brandon's things and all the memories that they shared. Just allowed her to kind of process just being there for her and just allowing her to go through her journey for herself and not pressure her or rush her into anything. I just really love that.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually why I had a little trouble with the book initially, because I felt like he seemed to be the perfect guy. And then towards the end, when it unravels and he like punches the wall, he's like throwing the guitar, I want to say, it just felt so out of character for him that it just, I don't know, it didn't fit well for me. But maybe that the point of that was just to show how far he had truly fallen. I don't know. He just, as you had said, he seemed like such a patient guy, not like a guy to get wrapped up in his own temper. But I don't know. That was just something that bugged me.
I really, though, in that scene, though, I loved Zane, like, coming in and just, like, how, I think, if I'm remembering, oh my God, words, if I'm remembering correctly, where he was kind of saying, like, Zane had, like, no self-preservation in that moment and, like, came in and was just like, let me see the hand. And, like, all right, cool, we got to go. Like, we got to do this. And just, it was just like, Zane, I just love Zane. Some way, somehow, is somewhere in the little Abby universe.
Yeah.
Somewhere floating around with something getting cooked up for her or something. Because,
it's the one that says, like, hey, I think this is much worse. It's going to take
to get him.
Or when he asked her to send her flowers, and she's like, "How about don't be a jerk?"
Yeah.
How about that?
She was great. She was great.
Yeah. Shout out to the assistants though, talking to each other, like Courtney and Zane, and like that's the only reason she was there. Like, so good. Yeah.
So good. Yes.
Okay. Any final thoughts that we want to talk about? Our Happy Ever After playlist.
We Nadia cakes again, which was fun.
Was it lemon cupcakes this time?
Oh, I can't remember.
The lemon.
Like lemon. And when she was like, "Did Ernie get them?" and Zane was like, "Please, I ordered them. You think I was gonna let Ernie mess this up?" Like,
that was cute.
And she mentions they do the dog. They have them for dogs too, which I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's perfect!
That's stunning." Like, I know we were talking about like emo moments and stuff, but like little moments throughout the book, but the author's note was one of them for me. And I know that like we talked about it, but like, could you imagine like going through something and your friend feeling so helpless to help, like on how to help you, and like the last thing they could think of to help you, like what a labor of love. She wrote you a book of like trying to show you like that there is the possibility of like brighter days ahead. And there was like a quote, well, not a quote, but like in the author's note, I just want to when she's like, she finally found joy in life again. I wish it would have happened sooner, but I'm grateful it happened at all, because for a very long time I was afraid it wouldn't. And it's like, like it's just sad. It's sad. But yeah,
I feel like every Abby. Oh
no, Kaylani, go.
I was just gonna say every Abby author's note gets me. Everyone.
Yes. I love this series so much more, knowing who was it that said last time, because I didn't know that she had written this one first before the friend zone, and they asked her to back it up and do the friend zone. I thought, oh man, that makes me like the friend zone a little bit better. Because I understand it now, why she had to set it up like that. But yeah. Wow. Yeah. So good.
Aw. Okay, so since our next book is Life's Too Short, let's talk about our initial thoughts on Adrian. And are you excited to see him?
So
I'm excited. He seemed
So
like
excited. Oh, sorry.
good for the 2 seconds we saw him.
Yeah.
He's fabulous like Jason, and he's also I'm just gonna say it, he's related to Josh, so he's it's very good that he's well related to Josh. I'll just say that. You'll see why later.
Oh.
Get to it in
You're gonna love this, but get the tissues ready. I'm telling you, I ugly cried the first time I read this.
Oh no.
More so than
Jesus.
any. Yeah, but it's so good.
Really?
So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Whose channel is it on? I forgot.
It's on mine.
Oh, great.
So Life's Too Short is November 3rd on my channel. And I figured we'd keep it the same time if you guys are good with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 4 p.m. EST.
Who wants to jump in on this?
Not me.
Yes.
Adrian? Yeah.
Adrian
He
is
the cousin of Josh.
Josh Copeland's cousin, Adrian Copeland. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With the whole gallery scene, Jason got jealous because we saw them together.
I thought Adrian was so perfect in the moment. He's like, look, I don't have expectations.
I did like that. He like brought up the stuff and he was like,
Yeah.
you know.
He's so perfect. He's another perfect man. Oh, she writes him so well.
Yeah.
But like the picture she showed him was the braces one.
But also that line where Kristen was like, yeah, actually, she's not feeling well. We're going to go to a Jackson Waters concert.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah, I love that. She's like,
Right.
yeah, she's not feeling good, but we're going to go to concert.
That's right. That's right.
He is such a good friend. That's why I like Kristen. I like
Yeah.
her more, I think, in this book than I did in her own book. And I still give that one a 4-star. I think this one's a little bit higher, 4.25.
Yeah, so let's talk about have our ratings changed? How do we feel after the discussion?
I feel good about my 4.5. I feel good. I'm good. I'm going to stick with it.
I'm gonna join B in the 4.5 land. Yeah.
Excellent.
They were like just some little moments that like I didn't like as reading them, like I was like, oh, love this. But even talking about some of the smaller things, I was like, oh, I really, really enjoyed that.
And did anybody listen to it, by the way?
I listened
Yeah.
to it.
And Zach, remember, right?
Zach?
I mean, Teddy Hamilton was good in the first one, but Zachary Weber is our man for the whole rest of them. So
I feel like Zach is good for like the emotional, like tugging on your heartstrings. Teddy's good for spice.
Love Teddy.
oh yeah.
I think I'm happy with my 4.5. I don't think I'm going to go back up. I'm good where I'm at.
I'm probably going to stick at a 4.5. I'll stay there, I think. Yeah, because once we talked about it, I'm like, I did enjoy this one.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to go up to a 4.5 or if I'm going to keep it at a 4. I think I might have to think about it. So
I feel like it'll be like a 4 on Goodreads, but it'll be a 4.5 in my brain.
Yeah.
In my heart.
Yeah.
sure. I said 4 so many times.
The only one I remember is when he was like, when Adrian was like, oh, they said they punched me in my forehead if I would like took your hand without your consent.
Yeah, and then he's like, Josh, or she's like, yeah, Josh.
Oh my God.
And he's like, no, it wasn't Josh. It was Kristen.
That is funny.
Did you search it on the Kindle to see how many
I
times?
did, but it doesn't give me a count. I thought it did. in there more than I ever would have thought. Like I just keep scrolling.
35.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Like I said that a million times.
There's books where
I didn't notice that.
you get hooked on things like, is it B.K. Borison where it's the word clavicle? I'm like, clavicle again? Or I just finished
Wow.
I Stopped Haunting You, and it was eyebrows. Like every time he looked at his eyebrow, it was someone's eyebrow, something else with the eyebrow. I was like, okay, a lot of eyebrows. And I'm not a writer. I shouldn't judge, but still.
It's like just do a quick little search to see how many times certain words are said. It could do wonders.
I mean, isn't that what a thesaurus is for? Look up the next word that means the same thing.
Yeah.
Unless they needed to hit the word count, you know? They had to keep it in there.
I love it too when there's authors that they have like a phrase that's sort of unusual and they're the only ones that use it. Like Eloisa James is always like, it was a thread of sound. And I was like, oh, there it is again, that thread of sound. I was waiting for it. It's like it once in every book. And then like Lisa Kleypas, he walked with ground-eating strides. That's the only way they walk. Ground-eating strides. And so whenever I read, it's like every time. I'm like, of course it was ground-eating.
Oh my goodness. That is so funny.
Anyway.
Is there any other way to stride? You know?
No,
Okay.
the ground-eating only.
Yeah.
That's my kind of man. Ground-eating strides. That's it.
Before we leave, do we have any recommendations that you think people might like if they enjoyed this one? I have one in mind for like specifically song incorporation.
Ooh.
It is the Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark. She has them like mid chapters, like sporadically throughout.
Get
So-
out. Oh, very cool.
I mean, at least in the indie. I don't know if it's in the traditionally pub because I think it's traditionally published now. But I thought that was fun.
I would
Very
say my only one that I would recommend, even though it is much darker, much more emotionally taxing, but if you liked the rock star romance aspect of it, would be The Words by Ashley Jade.
Ooh.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
I
Yes.
have heard about that one.
Okay.
It's a thick boy. She's a thick one, but it is definitely it's a really good read, and it's definitely emotional. But it also kind of talks about like, you know, substances and everything that kind of surrounds the darker side of Hollywood in the
Mm.
music sphere, at least.
Mhm. And I said mine, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It's really good. Very different.
I have that one on my radar.
Yeah.
I don't think I have one book in mind, and it's like because it deals with like celebrity and like obviously like the pitfalls of that. So Kaylani, plug your ears. But what's more appealing by Alyssa Sussman? Like I think just with having that added pressure of like celebrity and like what follows you around when you're trying to live your life, and just like living under that microscope and everything being like scrutinized. But yeah, that one is, you know, a favorite, but not for everybody.
Well, that's not the one I read, right? I read something different.
Funny you should ask.
Oh, Funny You Should Ask. I'm sorry. Not Once More with Feeling. Funny You Should Ask.
But it's the same author, right? Same series.
Yeah. But Funny You Should Ask, yeah.
Okay.
I have no suggestions. Good job, guys. Good job.
Okay. Liz read The Words, and it was a roller coaster. So emo.
Yeah.
Sounds like Abby too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was so much fun talking about our second Abby on this read-along journey.
Great job, Karina. This was great.
Yes.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for being here in the chat. We hope to see you on the 3rd for Life's Too Short over on Tara's channel. Everyone's also linked down below, so you don't have to even go looking. Just hit see more and you'll find them, okay? Yeah, any last words from the
Just
chat?
thank you for having us. You did amazing.
Yeah, thanks. This was great.
Yeah, it was so much fun. I'm glad this one was collectively a good experience overall. Like we haven't seen anything lower than a 4-star, so that's a win.
Absolutely.
I think we can only go up from here. To be honest.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Truly.
Right. Perfect. Well, thank you guys for being here. We hope to see you on the 3rd. And yeah, we'll talk with you guys very soon.
Bye.
Bye.